All right, welcome everyone. I'm Christine Clifton. I want to thank you for coming and joining me today. I know your time is precious, and something about mindset, perspectives, and boundaries obviously caught your ear. So those of you, you're probably all super familiar with Zoom at this point. So pop down in the chat and tell me what about the title or the content today made you want to pop in and learn a little more. So just chat, put in the chat like a word or two or a phrase. And so the title today is Mindset, Perspective, and Boundaries. Oh my, creating a work-life new normal that works for you. Let me also make sure I'm muting everybody. So hold on one second. Yes. Okay, yeah, I muted everybody just in case we had dogs barking and things like that. All right, so someone says mindset, setting proper personal boundaries. Yes, yes, yes. Everything is about mindset, isn't it? Creating a new normal as if you had an old normal. Yes, I'm going to change my new Facebook group to create your no normal, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Someone joined just because it was me. Thank you. Flattery will get you everywhere. Someone wanted to see and hear me again. Welcome. Interviewing for new roles. See the best practices. Very good. Thank you, everyone. Mindset. Yeah, that's a big topic. And my perspective on mindset might be a little different than what you've heard. So thanks for piping in, everybody. There's no slides today. I'm just going to be talking, and I'm going to be prompting you to participate in the chat as you follow along. So there's about 14 of us here today, so I'm really happy that you joined us. All right. So mindset, perspectives, and boundaries. So when you hear the term mindset, tell me what comes to mind for you. What does mindset mean for you? So down in the chat, just go ahead and give me a word or a phrase as to what mindset means. What's the definition, or what does it mean to you? Internal perspective, thank you. Anybody else? Mindset is tied to beliefs, how you see the world. Yep. Direction, thank you. Navigation, I love that word. Excellent. So yeah, the reason that I called it mindset, perspectives, and boundaries is that for me, there's some slightly different definitions for each of those three. And it's not necessarily linear. It's kind of like an amalgamation of these things, and they often root from the same thing. And like Max, I believe that these all come from belief systems. Now, I call this your BS. And those of you who have read my new book, you know that's what I call it. I like to have fun. I don't think personal growth should be heavy. I think it should be fun and light. So mindset comes from beliefs, but perspectives come from beliefs, and boundaries come from beliefs. So again, I'm biased because it's my body of work, but I do believe that BS feeds everything. So let me see over here. There are a couple more people that piped in. Perspective, weighing pros and cons. Reaction, that affects your action, ways of thinking. Very good. Yeah. So these are all great, and it's all about what we are going to talk about today. And those of you who do know me, you know that I am the how-to to the woo. And so I love giving tangible tools that you can actually use. So you're going to get some of those today, one for each topic. And again, I'll make the recording available either through Amanda sending it off to the list, or Amanda might give me the contact so I can send it out one way or the other, so you can go back and reference it, okay? So when I talk about beliefs or belief systems, it isn't all bad. You know, we hear the term BS and we might think, oh, that's BS, that's all bad. But some belief systems we might want to keep. And what I believe is that awareness is power. And we make decisions every single day about what to say, what to buy, where to go, what to do. And everything is rooted in belief systems. And there's a lot of different factors involved in each of them too. And I'm going to touch on the high points today during this talk, in addition to giving you those tools. Now, for those of you who might need to leave a little early, I always like to let people know I have a free training on my website. When you sign up for my newsletter, it's called Ignite Your Inner Leader. And it's going to talk the more deep dive about BS or belief systems. And it's a 30-minute video training. So if you go to my website, just sign up for my newsletter, you can get the video training right away. And it's going to go into more detail than I'll have time to do today. So, oh, here's a comment. So BS is fertilizer. Yes, it is the fertilizer. It's actually funny because I like to say that life is a big compost pile. Everything we do, everything we've learned, everything we be goes, we never lose it. It's always part of who we are. And it just all goes into the soil as fertilizer for whatever we're going to choose, create, or fill in the blank next. And we get to bring what we want along with us. And that's also the same topic of belief systems. So one of the things I talk about a lot with my clients is money story, money beliefs. So think about, what kind of money beliefs, let's say, might you have today? Many of us carry our money beliefs from our family of origin, but we also can get BS or beliefs from what I call trauma. And trauma could be as little as a hangnail and as large as some sort of abuse or something worse than that. Everyone's trauma is relative to them. So for money, if you were taught money doesn't grow on trees, or you have to work hard to earn money, or as a side note, money comes from working, which, by the way, it does not. Money comes from being. And if you want to know more about that, you can go grab my book. My newest book is called Get Ready, Get Set, Flow. And you can find that on my website too, or on Amazon. And there's a whole chapter kind of dedicated to shifting money story. So that's a belief or a BS that we have a chance to keep if we want. If you want to believe that you have to work hard in order to get money, by all means, keep that belief system. I don't choose that. So part of that belief system that feeds the mindset is it feeds everything, like I said. Now, for me, I look at mindset as more about being fixed or growth. So if you wanted to jot this note down, and you can Google this and find some references on it too. So some people talk about positive or negative mindset, or that mindset is optimistic or pessimistic. I happen to believe it's a broader title than that. It's either a fixed mindset or growth mindset. And you can probably guess which one I'm in, in this one. And there's one set of questions from a practice called Access Consciousness that I like to use for the growth mindset. So I'm going to give you 3 questions to jot down to see and try them on for size and see if you like them or not. Like anything that you learn, you can choose it or not. You're always in choice. And I love to share what I use, and you can decide if it fits you or not. But a fixed mindset is something like, oh, I've been out of work a year, nobody will hire me, right? That's a fixed mindset. You have it's kind of a limited view about what's possible. A growth mindset facilitates your mind to look at the options that are available to you. Now, you guys also know that I'm a little bit, woo-woo. And so I do believe in the law of attraction. What you think about, you bring about, the secret, the power of positive thinking, whatever that definition is for you. And so if you're vibrating expansively, you're going to get expansion. Yes. And if you're vibrating in a fixed way, or what I like to say, constricted way, which is a fixed mindset, you're going to get constriction. So if you're with me and you want to try on expansiveness for size, here's the 3 questions from Access Consciousness that I like to use. Now, the first one I use a lot because for whatever reason, many of us go to the negative when something happens. we perceive that something is negative and our brain goes to a negative outcome. And so when I catch myself in the negative, I like to ask myself this question: what's right about this that I'm not seeing? Question number one: what's right about this that I'm not seeing? This does not mean that you have to grab your journal and sit down on the sofa for an hour and brainstorm answers to the question. The universe is a call and response system. And when you call out a question, it's going to return an answer. And so your task is to simply be sincere and curious about what answers the universe is going to bring you in response to that question: what's right about this that I'm not seeing? So that's one of three. Another one, second one that I like to use is: what else is possible here? What else is possible here? So it does expand that growth mindset so that your mind, your being, your vibration is being open to something else that's possible here. So you can bring in these questions at any time, whether something's happening good, prospectively good, or prospectively bad, because that is what opened up your mind to receive alternate options. All right. And question number three is: how does it get any better than this? How does it get any better than this? Again, if you're in the fetal position on the floor, rubbing two nickels together, and those of you who know me know that I've had three of those times in my life where I was basically bankrupt. We could be rocking back and forth on the floor, sucking our thumb going, but we can still ask the question: how does it get any better? Because it immediately brings our brain to a place that can receive the possibility. So the caveat, kind of the asterisk that I don't want you thinking I'm not saying you always have to be positive. I think that sometimes chronic positivity is what I call a spiritual bypass. But it can be a bypass because it's overriding sometimes how you're experiencing whatever it is in your life. And I believe that our sacred calling, our purpose, our why, whatever word you have for it, has us moving through the world in order to have certain experiences. And sometimes we perceive them as good, sometimes we perceive them as bad, sometimes we perceive them as neutral, but we need the experience because it's part of the kind of the push of the universe towards our sacred calling or our why. So be aware that I'm not saying you have to be always Pollyanna and positive. You get to experience and be human. Let me tell you, I work these practices every day, and all my clients will tell you that I do every day. Just this weekend, I had a really, really low period, and I allowed myself to feel low. And then I asked my expansiveness questions. So in the book, and I see someone put, the book is amazing, lots to learn there. Thank you so much for that comment. In the book, I summarize this practice towards the end of the book, Get Ready, Get Set, Flow, so that you can have the how-to to the woo-woo. Because if we bypass the experiences that we're supposed to make in order to prepare for our ultimate sacred calling, then you're missing out. And you might evolve a little slower. I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but that's my belief system. So think about the BS that feeds you. It feeds your mindset. Think about constriction, which is a fixed mindset, versus expansion, which is a growth mindset. And catch yourself when you're in the judgment of good, bad, or otherwise, and see if you can ask one of those questions so that you can keep yourself in expansion. You can expand even when quote unquote bad things are happening, because if you honor that experience as something that's happening for a reason, then you're likely going to grow from it. Is constriction the same as contraction? That's a really good question. I think it is in my mind. Yeah, it is in my mind. It might be different in yours. And if it is, go ahead and help us understand your perspective. I'd love to hear it. So that's a perfect segue into perspectives. So perspective is your take on things. And so again, to me, mindset is a little different than perspectives. Mindset is about fixed versus growth, and perspective is about your take on things. So I could perceive, let's say, I'm going to give you one example of my money story. So when I was in one of those fetal position on the floor moments, and I had 2 nickels I was rubbing together, my perspective was, this is bad. This is really, really bad. I had used my 401k. I had used my pension, and this was early on in my my entrepreneurship, about 13, 14 years ago. And what ended up happening was actually a positive. What ended up happening was, because I had little income that year, I was not required to pay that 25% or whatever taxes on my 401k monies and my pension monies. I did have to pay that 10% penalty, but you know what? That money was mine anyway. So our perception of debt, our perspective of bankruptcy, our perspective of spending money before we have it. I don't know why I'm using all money examples today. Maybe some of you might need to hear it. Maybe the universe is sending me these examples on purpose. But the perspective of it is your take on things, and you can choose your take on things. It is up to you how you perceive what's happening or perceive certain people. And what I find fuels the perspectives is values. So I'm actually going to read you a parable right now because I want you to hear a story about perspective. All right. So I'm going to toggle over here to this, and just take a deep breath and receive the short story, which is a parable. And the title of it is We'll See. So once upon a time, there was a farmer in the central region of China, and he didn't have a lot of money, so he used a very old horse to plow his field. One afternoon, while working in the field, the horse dropped dead. Everyone in the village said, "Oh my, what a horrible thing to happen." And the farmer said simply, "We'll see." He was so at peace and so calm that everyone in the village got together and, admiring his attitude, gave him a new horse as a gift. Everyone's reaction was now, "What a lucky man." And the farmer said, "We'll see." A couple days later, the new horse jumped a fence and ran away. Everyone in the village shook their heads and said, "What a poor fellow." And the farmer smiled and said, "We'll see." Eventually, the horse found his way home, and everyone again said, "What a fortunate man." And the farmer said, "We'll see." Later that year, the farmer's young boy went out riding on the horse and fell and broke his leg. Everyone in the village said, "What a shame." And the farmer said, "We'll see." 2 days later, the army came into the village to draft new recruits. And when they saw that the farmer's son had a broken leg, they couldn't recruit him. And everybody said, "What a fortunate young man." And the farmer smiled again and said, "Yep, you guessed it. We'll see." So if you're so inclined, down in the chat, tell me what you got from that story. Tell me what message you received from the parable, "We'll see." Now, I have, this is one of my favorite parables, and I tell it a lot because it really is about our perspective on things. So if you're so inclined, in the chat, just tell me what you took from that little parable. So perspectives are about values. So one of the exercises that I invite you to do is to brainstorm your personal values. What drives your decision making? What's important for you and to you? What do you value? We make decisions every day based on our values, but we often do it from a place of lack of consciousness about it. So bring it into your consciousness so you can use it as a tool in the future. If you're a job seeker, I encourage you to compare your values to any company that you're applying for. Go to their mission, vision, values statement on their website and see if you can find yourself in their mission, vision, value statement. That's a perspective, okay? Next time you purchase something, big or small, ask yourself, what motivated me to make this purchase? It is a value that feeds the perspectives that you have on things. So own your values and know that they can change at any time. And I check in with mine every season. I love the change of seasons as opposed to quarters. That's too corporate for me. So I like to look at the seasons, and as the seasons change, I revisit my values. All right, so let me see what some of the learnings were from the parable. One person learned to be in the moment. Another one says it depends on how you look at things. Exactly. Someone else said, wait and see rather than rush to a decision. Another one said it could be good, it could be bad, too soon to tell. Exactly. Judgments can make situations good or bad. And everything has two sides. Everything can be both, good, advantageous, or bad. Yeah. In my book, I say I'm a both and kind of gal. And I always have been, because I think that so many things we perceive as mutually exclusive when they really can be integrated. And that's what the subtitle of the book is about. Get ready, get set, flow, work-life integration for soul-powered people. So it really is just like that compost pile that I referenced earlier. How can we integrate all of who we are into our being? Because that is what the vibe is going to start giving off or resonating, that the universe can then bring to us. Okay, so thanks for playing, everybody. All right, boundaries. This is a big one, okay? So in the chat, if you are a people pleaser, B, recovering people pleaser, or C, wannabe recovering people pleaser, just put the word yes down in the chat. If you're a recovering people pleaser, a current people pleaser, or a wannabe recovering people pleaser. We have a recovering one, we have yeses, a wannabe, a recovering, a wannabe recovering, yes, yes, yes. So the reason I ask that is that I am too. Okay, when I work with my clients who are entrepreneurs and we're working on their ideal client profile, 9.9 times out of 10, their ideal client profile is them. So yes, I'm a recovering people pleaser as well. And what makes us great is also what can take us out. So people pleasers are wired for service. So put yes in the chat if you're wired for service. You might have a cause that you feel strongly about. You may have started a business in order to serve people. You might be active in your church or in reform or in local politics. Look at all the yeses, guys, in the chat box. Absolutely. So what makes us great as people pleasers is that we know that we're hearing the call to service and to be of service to others. And we often end up doing that to the detriment of ourselves. Sometimes it's conscious and sometimes it's not conscious. A lot of times it's not conscious. And what I find in myself, it took many years for me to learn this, is that we often give to others what we wish we had. I'm going to repeat that. We often give to others what we wish we had. And so I want you to think about that from a law of attraction perspective. If we are giving to others in a place of lack, which is what that is, believe it or not, because when you're giving to others because you wish you had it, it means that you don't have it. And it means that you're not serving yourself within that same area of service. So we think we're doing good by being of service, but we're actually giving from a place of not enoughness, of not worthiness, of can't do enough, right? How many of you as people of service have ever had a circumstance, maybe multiple, where you gave and gave and gave and weren't acknowledged or appreciated for what you gave and gave and gave? So in the chat, if that's ever happened to you, put yes. Who hasn't, right? Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. So lots of yeses in the chat. Yeah. Hell's yes. I like that one. Thank you. So the reason that has happened is because you are giving from a place that lacks a healthy approach, right? I don't like to say negatives, but if we're giving from a place of depletion or a place of lack or a place of not enoughness, what we're telling to the universe is that we're not enough, that there's lack, and we're going to get more clients like that, significant others like that, instances like that, because the universe hears your vibration. It doesn't hear intention. Let's see if I fully believe that one. I pretty much believe that one. I think, what's that phrase? The path to hell is paved with good intentions. I mean, good intentions are good, but when you're coming at it from an unconscious place of lack, then you're not serving yourself as fully as you could be. And so people of service sometimes will fall into a little bit of like a martyr type of complex because we feel like, but I'm doing good, I'm helping others. But what the universe hears is your vibration. So you can't skip yourself. And as a side note, whether you're a career seeker, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a domestic CEO, people want you. They don't want your business. They don't want your, career. They want you, the essence of you, the juiciness of you. And so you can't skip over it. My first book is a guidebook that I wrote, and it's called Your Spirit at Work. Bring more of you through what you do so your vision comes true. I'm one part Mrs. Seuss. I think you guys know that by now, those that know me. And so I've believed this for a really long time. You can't discount the fact that you're the secret sauce between what your client wants, between what the company is looking for in their job, in their position. You're the secret sauce. And to skip over that means that you're missing opportunities. You're missing opportunities to serve other people, and you're missing opportunities that can enrich your life even further and the people around you. So when we talk about setting boundaries, you can't set a boundary around something that you don't know what the boundary is. And what I mean by that is, if you don't know what your ideal job looks like, how can you set a boundary around that? If you don't know what your ideal life design is, how can you set a boundary around that? And so I also want to be really clear. Boundary energy for me is not this energy. It's not resistance or keeping people at bay energy. Instead, it's hug energy. It's protection energy. So if you can change your perspective about the word boundaries or the process of setting healthy boundaries, think of it as a way to protect your ideal life design, your ideal career, your ideal business, your ideal client. And the more that you're aware of that before someone starts asking you for your time, your expertise, or fill in the blank, you're going to have already known what's important to you so that you can set that hugging boundary around it so that you can protect what it is that you're here to do. And then when somebody makes a demand on your time, you can more easily say, no, it is a complete sentence, but I'm actually going to give you a 3-step conversation model as my how-to to this concept of boundary setting. Okay. So if you have your pen and paper ready, now this 3-step conversation model is in my second book called You Don't Have to Shout to Stand Out. And the context of this is networking. So if you guys know that you need to network and you don't love the awkward networking conversations, This book is about the conversation within networking. However, it applies to any conversation that you might have with another human being. Okay, so the 3-step conversation model is in this book, but I'm going to give you the high level right now. So on your paper, I want you to write the letter A, and then the letter S, and then the letter Q, ASQ. I have a picture of a new book cover with ask spelled this way, ASQ, because I like to be a little different. And A stands for acknowledge. The S stands for state, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit. And the Q stands for question. Acknowledge, state, and question. Okay, so what does acknowledge mean? Acknowledge means that if I am protecting my vision of my ideal life design, and Susie from school calls me up and says, hey, Christine, I am putting together the bake sale for the fall, and I could really use your help. And I know that I'm launching something big, let's say in the fall. How do I say no in the moment as a recovering people pleaser in a way that doesn't feel icky, that doesn't feel rude, and that is the helpful nature that I am? So acknowledge in that scenario would be, hi, Susie, I know how important the annual school bake sale is to you. That's acknowledge. So acknowledge is you're just going to speak back something that you heard that person say, or that you know that person to be. All right. You're not agreeing with them. You're not disagreeing with them. You're just acknowledging something. You might even say, oh, Susie, you sound so excited about the bake sale. That's so awesome. That's an acknowledgement as well. So find something to acknowledge. Then for state, it's either state your desired outcome or state the impact of that thing on you. Okay, so that would sound something like this. I'm overextended already. Or you might say, gosh, I wish I could, but I'm launching something in the fall, right? So state your desired outcome or state the impact of that thing on you for that second level. Now notice, acknowledge is one sentence, state is one sentence, and then your question is also going to be one sentence. We need to keep the short, people pleasers, because otherwise, if you start getting long or start explaining yourself, people start finding ways to get in that lengthy explanation, and you don't accomplish what you want, which is to set that healthy boundary around what it is you're doing or what you need. So keep it short. I think we get into trouble when we get too long when we're trying to say no. So keep it to 3 sentences, all right? So, hey, Susie, I know the school bake sale is really important to you. I wish I could, but I am launching something in the fall and I can't commit to helping. The question, third sentence, would be something like this. Would you like to spend a couple minutes brainstorming who else might be able to help you? Okay, question. So if you want to offer that to them and be giving and feel, like your natural, wonderful giving of service self, then you might offer that. Another way to ask a question would be, how about if I send you an email with a couple people who helped last year that you may not have on your list? Would that be okay? Question, right? And so the power of the question at the end of the 3-step model is that it engages and prompts a response from the person that you're talking with. And so setting that boundary with the ASQ only comes after you've set, right, the hug energy around your ideal life design, your ideal business design, your ideal career, your ideal whatever, fill in the blank. You're not going to be able to know in that moment how to say no or protect your vision if you haven't already established what the boundary would be. And so what happens with people pleasers is that we find ourselves in so much service to others that we haven't even thought about what it is that we want. We haven't even thought about an ideal life design because we keep getting caught up in other people's needs. And if you've done any reading on empathic people or highly sensitive people and narcissists, narcissists tend to be takers and empaths tend to be givers, and it's a perfect match in a certain world, okay? Someone says, I love the term ideal life design. Thank you. Yeah, that's my favorite phrase. I even capitalize it because it's so important in my body of work for myself and my clients as well. So take this tool with you, okay? This 3-step conversation model. And here's the thing, it doesn't work if you don't practice it. And you can't practice it in your head. You've got to practice it over your lips. So whether you are speaking to yourself in the mirror or driving the car and speaking different ways that you can do the 3-step model out loud, the more you can exercise these vocal muscles before you need to call on them, the more successful you're going to be in the moment. So I'm going to tell you a quick story about moving to the South. I found out that there's something in the South that I now call the Southern yes. And what it is a no. But it's a very polite yes, because they don't want to say no, don't know how to say no, they're too nice to say no, but they'll tell me yes, and then me and my taking people for what they, say to me kind of perspective is, so I then was joyfully tromping behind them, doing follow-ups, and people weren't getting back to me even though they said they would help me or whatever the case might be. And so, guys, I want you to own your no in the moment. I want you to own your healthy boundary around your ideal life design, your ideal business design, your ideal job, your ideal partner. It's your birthright to step into the world in your full self, and you get to have what you need. And as a matter of fact, we need to receive more than what we need because we're in service. We're always giving to others. So how cool would it be that we get ourselves in the vibration of alignment so that we can attract more than what we need, so that we can continue that path of service that we feel so called towards. That's what I want for you. I have made my way through this body of work for the past 13 years. I mean, if I had known what I was getting into with entrepreneurship, I probably would never have done it. And now I'm forever grateful, and the flexibility I have in my life and the self-empowerment that I have is nothing I would ever trade in the world, okay? So boundaries are about protection, not keeping things at bay. It's about being your true self and being gracious in the moment and warm in the moment, even when you say no, using that 3-step conversation model, okay? So I'm going to go through a quick recap of mindset, perspectives, and boundaries here at the end. I want you guys to think any questions that you might have and put them in the chat so I can answer them. We're going to take about 5-10 minutes to answer questions so that I can get you guys what you need so you can leave today with these tangible tools. Remember, go visit my website, christineclifton.com. Sign up for my free training called Ignite Your Inner Leader. And if you want either one of my books, I also have my digital guidebook. Just scroll down my website to the books page, and you can either go get taken to Amazon for these 2 books, or you can purchase my digital guidebook as well there. Also, be sure to check in and connect with me on LinkedIn if we aren't already connected there. I am a fierce advocate of growing networks with kindred spirits. And if you were attracted to this call today, then you're definitely a kindred spirit. If you're a recovering people pleaser, a current people pleaser, or a wannabe recovering people pleaser, you're my peep. So connect with me there on LinkedIn as well. Okay, so quick recap. Mindset. What feeds mindset? Belief systems. You get to choose which BS you want to keep or you want to release and shift. And I gave you 3 questions to help you with your mindset and to make it expansive instead of restricted, okay? Perspectives. This is your take on things. What feeds your perspective is your values. So remember the parable of We'll See, and make sure that you brainstorm a list of values that drive you so that you can be conscious of them and use them as a tool instead of using them as a passive something in your software that drives you. Awareness is power. Bring those values out in front of you so you can now use it to decide on the right company for you, to decide on the right partner for you, to decide on the right client for you, the right business. It feeds everything. And then lastly, the boundary is the hugging energy of protection rather than keeping energy away. It's about integrating your full self so that you're vibrating from a place of abundance so that you can bring more abundance into your life, your work, your career, your relationships, fill in the blank. And use that 3-step model in the moment so that you can honor yourself and, quite honestly, honor the person that you're speaking with. Don't fall into the Southern yes because you can honor them by telling them no in the moment so that they can get on their way with what it is that they need as well. So clarity, this is about clarity. When you have clarity of purpose, when you have clarity of ideal life design, when you have clarity of your mindset and your BSs, you are going to make a great presence in the world. Your voice is going to step into the world much more strongly, and that's what I'm all about, is vibe, voice, and value. But when you're able to literally articulate your value into the world, it grows because people hear it, and the energetics of it is that you're now broadcasting your vibe much more broadly as well. It just amps everything up. So that's what I wish for you. And so work-life integration and the new normal that we talked about, or like I said, I'm going to change my Facebook group to say the no normal. The more agile we can be, the more able we'll be to grab those opportunities that come along, even unexpectedly. And so if you're going to invest any money, time, or energy in anything in terms of your growth, the number one thing I would have you do is feed your agility skills. And these things, mindset, perspectives, and boundaries, all feed your agility skills. The less attached you are, the less resistant you are to what's happening, to different people, to circumstances, the more agile you'll be to be able to keep your own footing. And that's what I want for you as well, is that agility. Someone mentioned the word navigation before, and that helps us navigate. Is the more agile you are, the more you can navigate. So someone said, can you please define agile a little bit more? Sure. So when I say agile, what I mean is, I'll tell the story of how I arrived in Saxapahaw, North Carolina real quick. So when I showed up, woke up that one morning in New Jersey and decided that I didn't want to live there anymore. What did I do? I went and brainstormed my values. I updated my ideal life design. And what I did for myself in those two exercises was I recognized that Jersey wasn't fitting me anymore. I wanted to move into more warm weather. I wanted a little slower pace. And I had these serendipitous things happen to where I was heading down to Stanton, Virginia. I love Stanton, Virginia. If you've never been there, it's down Interstate 81. It's my favorite way to go from the north to the south because it keeps you off of Interstate 95, which is horrible for travel. And so Stanton is this quaint little town. And I'd given my notice to my landlord. I was preparing to leave Jersey, and all of a sudden, all my plans fell apart. All my plans fell apart. The person who was renting me the storefront that had an apartment above it changed his mind. He wanted to turn it into an Airbnb. When I started looking around for other places to live and work in Stanton, nothing was coming to fruition. Everything was not nearly as flowy as it was on those serendipitous incidences that brought me there. So if I had attached myself to the idea that I needed to live in Stanton, Virginia, I would never be in Saxonville, North Carolina right now. And so what happened was a client said, well, my dad has a furnished condo in Southport, North Carolina, if you want to rent it. And I was like, okay, why not? What a great place to spend the winter, right? So I spent the winter in Southport, North Carolina, and then I had other things drawing me into the central part of North Carolina. Clients were hiring me, people were asking me to speak and teach, and I wanted to live in a small town. And then I had a massage one day when I was visiting Raleigh, when I was holding a mastermind for some clients of mine. And I told her what I was looking for, and she said, well, you should check out Saxapahaw. And that's where I am today. Saxapahaw fit all of the values that I had when I first woke up that day in New Jersey and decided to leave. It also fit all the aspects and characteristics of my ideal life design. But I could never have known about, I mean, I could have, I guess, but I didn't know about Saxapahaw. And so the agility is knowing that everything is driven from your being, not your doing. And the more that I can strengthen my strength of conviction about who I am, what I'm here to do, my connection to the source of my understanding, whatever that is for you, then I am dependent on me. And it makes me more agile because I'm not attached to an idea of Stanton, Virginia, or I'm not resisting the idea of change. So that's what I mean by agile. So I hope that was a long description. Stanton is great. Yeah, I love Stanton. I used to mispronounce it actually because I thought it was Staunton because there's a U in there, but they call it Stanton. So I had to learn real quick if I wanted to be a native. So it's a cute little town. If you haven't been there, it's a great destination trip too, by the way. Okay, so I'm going to open it up for questions. You can either unmute yourself if you'd like, as long as there's not a lot of racket going on over there, or in the chat, you can type in a question for me and I'll do my best to answer it. So either unmute yourself and say hi and ask your question, and or put your question in the chat. I'm just going to take a sip of water.
I got a question.
Yes, Max.
So I guess I am in a similar situation like you, and I'm looking for a change. Somewhere warmer. I'm in a job that I don't like anymore, and so I declared, okay, I want to be out of my job and be in Austin, Texas. That's the original destination. By end of this year. So meaning by next year, I'm in Austin, Texas. So my chance, just to, I don't know, to take the steps to get there, because right now, since my energy is being drained, sometimes like I don't have any more energy to even just research, my next step. And just last week, I took the 2 days off because I'm totally wiped out, and I put everything on hold, like you said, the boundaries, the hug energy to protect, my energy, and everything is secondary. So,
well, kudos to you for taking those 2 days. And so what I would tell you is that it's your vibration that the universe reads. And in the story of money, I have a whole course that I do on money, and the universe also can't count. That's my belief. The universe can't count. It only hears and feels the vibration. And so my invitation to you is, if you haven't already, to paint that ideal life design that you have for yourself and assign money values to the things that support it. Okay. So you might put in a cost of relocation. You might put in the cost of living of the place that you want, the kind of place you want to be living in Austin. So don't, hold back in terms of moving through that type of an exercise, because the universe is going to feel the vibration behind it. Now, The unattachment piece is, are you willing to consider a place other than Austin, Texas? Right?
Yes.
Okay. And so if you are, then I would challenge you to brainstorm the characteristics that Austin represents for you. So already you said it's further south, the weather's warmer. Austin is a cool place for food and music. And so if you can take that time to really be in, the as if, like imagine yourself a day in Austin if you were to live there, because those characteristics are what are most important to you, not the fact that it's Austin, Texas.
Right.
So, one of the things I call it is, it's called, I call it a hourglass effect. So of all the places you want to be, to narrow it down to Austin, Texas, but then to flare it back out again by listing all the characteristics that you perceive, that opens up the possibilities. It might be Austin, but it
Right.
also might not be. And so if you're not getting in that energy of what you're choosing on a regular basis, I would say daily, then you have a chance for it to not be energizing for you, And when you're a job that you don't love, it also can drain you. So if you're not filling your free time with hobbies you like, or music you like, or books that you like, then your vibration also isn't supporting what you ultimately want for yourself. So one of the keys is to really love on what is right now.
Yeah.
Because if we're always saying this isn't enough, then you're going to be in the energy of not enough.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Is that helpful?
Yes, it is helpful. Actually,
Okay,
there's a criteria that now make me realize, I'm putting a restriction because I was looking for a state with no state income tax, because I'm going to be traveling all over. So
there you go. Don't hold back. Just let it be a running list. Like, I fully encourage that for sure. And the one thing that I will say too is you might need to unattach yourself from the timing.
that's going to be tough, because I'm really, really drained at my work right now, and I know it's affecting my sleep and everything. So just
But
haven't
what
found.
if it's sooner, Max? What if it could happen sooner? See, your mind went straight to maybe it would take longer.
Well, in a way, because I was, kind of want to build up that income buffer, because I don't have a transition job. If I did, I would have moved. And fortunately, like I've been applying at the Austin, Texas. I'm not getting in nibble. However, I thought my next step is to contact with people that I've met in Austin. And so actually, it's more of the sign of the universe, the people that I've been meeting, all of a sudden I joined this group, and I found out that the organizers, are from Austin, Texas, and most of the people there are from Austin, Texas. And so I said, okay, maybe it is there. So I don't know. So
And maybe somebody will let you house sit for free. Like, what else is possible here?
yeah.
How does it get any right? Because you're limiting yourself with the money. I got to save up enough money. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
I got some PPP funds in my business, right? That I didn't work for that money. So when you open yourself up to the possibility, the universe is going to conspire.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Let's see if there's some other questions there. Thanks, Max.
Thank you.
All right. So someone says the mentor mind uses the expression "have strong beliefs used loosely held." I like that. Yeah, I like that. All right. We're right at 4:00. Let me see if there's any other questions, and we'll.
Got a question, more common, Christine. Thank you so much for, I just wanted to participate because I like hearing you speak and explain the whole concept, because it has multifacets and so many layers that all influence each other, build up on each other. And it takes, I like structure, but it still took me, we work together, so full disclosure, Christine is my business coach. And I started reading your book halfway through just to reiterate and explain. So thank you so much for this seminar, for lack of a better word. It takes me time to put everything in the right place and understand all aspects of this complex belief system feeds into mindset. My perspective makes me understand and then react, and I need my boundaries and ideal life design to make the right decision in that particular moment.
You said that pretty well. So yeah, did you have a question, or did you just want to provide that feedback?
I just wanted to give you that feedback. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you did. And let me tell you, guys, I have been working on this stuff since, well, before I started my first business 14 years ago. And that's one of the things too, is that I learned for me that the definition of self-love is loving what is. And so as I've made my way through these concepts, I have been able to love what is more and more along the way. As I mentioned before, I work these practices every single day. It's not like I'm graduated and now I'm teaching you what I used to do. No, 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 no. These are everyday practices. And in my belief system, the more that we can cultivate that relationship with ourselves, on my website, you'll see that I say source, self, and service. I love alliteration, right? I said vibe, voice, and value. But source, self, and service is all about broadening up that vibration, your Wi-Fi, your personal Wi-Fi, so that you are bringing things that are aligned with you to you. When I was working with Martina, we were talking about business development ecosystems and all these things that work for different people at different times. But sometimes, at one point in my business, I realized I didn't need those training wheels anymore, that I was so clear on my ideal client and so clear on my why that I didn't have to over-construct a business development ecosystem anymore. I still use it to some degree, but what I moreover do now is I check in. I know my ideal life design. I know my values. I know my sacred calling and my purpose. And I know when something feels light and right. And that means it's aligned for me. I've been going through horrible health issues the past 2 years. And I live by myself. I'm single. I have to support myself. And the universe has sent me things that I could never have contrived for myself, that I never would have even thought of. It doesn't mean that I didn't think they were possible. It just didn't occur to me, or I just didn't even know they existed. But with these practices, these things came to me pretty seamlessly so that I could continue to care for my health, continue to care for me, continue to care for my clients, and bring new work into the world. I mean, I wrote a book last year and launched it this year, even though I was really not well physically. So it's possible. And that's where that mindset, comes in. All right, so let's see. I have a lot of thank yous in the chat. Thank you, you guys. You're welcome. I'm so glad you showed up. Any other last questions before we wrap up? It's about 5 after 4, so questions, feedback? Thank you for the thank yous. You're welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming. Excellent. All right, well, we're going to wrap up then. So I will get you the recording one way or the other. A lot of you are connected to me already. So if you don't get the recording from Amanda or from me, just reach out to me and I'll make sure you get the recording so you can look back. Go to my website. That's kind of my center point for everything that I do. You can find my social channels there. My books are there. And get my free training as well and join my community. It would be my honor. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.